Alright, here's our video on multiplying rational numbers. So let's look at an example. Okay. Always looking for my eraser. Ah, here it is. Okay. So, if we had, let's say, 1/3 times 2/5, we'll just pick it negative 1/3 times 2/5. So we need to remember the rules of multiplication and division, which we went over. Remember, if the signs are different, as you can see here, they have different signs, the answer is always going to be negative. If the signs were the same, like if I made this a negative, then we know it would be positive. So, just to review again, a negative number times a negative number, well, are the signs the same? Yes, they're like signs. Those are like signs. So if you see that, we know it's going to be positive. And a positive number times a positive number, they're like signs, so it'll be positive. But if they're different signs, it'll always be negative. In multiplication and division only. So it's kind of, well, it's somewhat easier than adding and subtracting. A lot of students find that. So let's look at a problem. Let's look at this. We have 2 2/5 times negative 1 1/3. We should put parentheses around that. Make it look better. So the first thing we should do is we should make sure that they're all improper. Right now they're mixed numbers. So again, 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. So that gives us 12/5. Times 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. Negative 4/3. So again, if you remember, and we've done this in 6th grade, even in 5th grade, you multiply and then add to get the mixed number. So we know automatically now that this is going to be a negative answer because we have unlike signs. So now you can just multiply it, or you could cancel right away. We know that 3 goes into 12 4 times, and 3 goes into 3 once. So we have then a negative 16 over 5. Now, I may ask you on a test to simplify that. Or sometimes you can just keep it like that. But if I say break that down, make it a mixed number, we have negative 16/5. 5 goes into 16. Remember, we're going to have a negative here. 3 times and 1/5. So there's our answer. Okay, try this one. So as you can see, how did I get 3 over 2? 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. And how did I get negative 3/8? 3 times 1 is 3, 2 times 4 is 8. So there's our answer, 3/8. Okay, let's do one more. Now, in rational numbers, we've been just doing fractions, but they could be decimals. Remember, decimals are rational numbers, right? So how do we do something like that? Line them up like that. No, we're not lining up the decimals, remember, because 5 is actually 5.0. And adding and subtracting, we would have to. Well, we could just put the 5 there. So 5 times 5 is 25. Bring the 2 over. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 2 is 12. And we have one decimal place value. We'll bring it there. Remember, though, we're missing something. What are we missing? A negative times a positive. They're unlike signs. This will be negative 12.5. And we can make that a fraction. What do you think it is as a fraction? Negative 12 and 5/10, which we can reduce. What if I say reduce that? Negative 12 and a half. Okay. Now sometimes I might ask you to do a decimal times a fraction. What do you think you can do with that? Sometimes it's easier if you make everything one type, like make them all decimals or make them all fractions. If you want to make this a fraction, remember it's 2 and 5/10, which is also 2 and a half. So 2.5 is 5 over 2. So it's 5 over 2 times 1/8. And then what do we get? 5/16. So when you see decimals and fractions, remember, try to make them all one item, like all decimals or all fractions. Okay, one more. What if I had, let's say, -5 times 2/3? Well, here we have an integer and a fraction. But you know, all integers could be made fractions by just putting a 1 on top, on the bottom, that is. We know our answer is going to be negative because they're unlike signed. So we know we're going to have a negative. -10/3. Now, you can keep it as -10/3, but if I say in a quiz, reduce it, so it'll be -3, because 3 times 3 is 9, and 1/3. Okay, great job.